Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. So we got a little bit more going on the off-road welding cart project here. So I'll give you a quick peek at what's going on. So I got some 1.5 by 1.5 1/8" angle iron clamped in. Got some magnets holding it up, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut those paint lines out, and we're gonna have this thing sit flush into itself. And we got a little bit of a gap up there. I'm not real worried about that. Simple fact is we are going to be putting some 16 gauge sheet metal over it, and what I would like to do is I don't have a bead roller. I've never even used a bead roller, but I've seen some videos on doing some hammer forming. I need to make a video of me showing how I did a little bit of hammer forming for a piece on the truck that I still need to finish up. But we'll get to that at another point. The whole purpose of this welding cart is so I can continue working on the Chevy. And the problem I have, like I've said in other videos, is this cart is great for in the garage or on a surface like this, but it's terrible for a surface out in the outdoors, like the grass, the tree roots, what have you. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is mount into the vise, putting a smaller gap in here, and then taking a piece of bar stock or something around. I know I got bar stock laying around here somewhere in this jungle. Anyway, lay the sheet over. Here's a piece of 10 gauge, just for an example. I don't think I got enough lead in my rear end to hammer form that. I might, but I'm not going to find out. So anyway, put it over like this. Just keep an eye where the gap is. And then take a piece of bar stock, for the lack of having bar stock accessible right at the moment. Take that. Take a BFH. If you don't know what a BFH is, it's a big effing hammer. And then pound it down into the gap. And just keep moving and moving and moving. And running the bead. That way, since I'm not putting a cross support in that I'm aware of, that hammer bead roll mark puts some rigidity into the metal, so it doesn't make it weak. So we'll get this going and we'll be back. Alright, so what I did off camera was I had the paint lines right there, and I cut a little more than I wanted to, but that's okay. But anyway, what we're going to end up with here is a 90-degree joint, and it's going to fit in there pretty decent. So we got a little bit of gap here. This is just mocked up right there. But what I did was took the cutoff wheel. Like I said, I cut a little too much right there. But we're going to get, I don't know if you can see this or not. Shed some light on it. There we go, folks. We're going to get it all lined up right here on both sides. And we'll get it tacked in, and then we're going to get it all burned in. And I might leave those, but I doubt it. So, and then like I said, we're going to work on cutting out that 16 gauge sheet metal. I got two 30 by 30 squares at my local steel yard. I had them cut them out of a 4 by 8 sheet. So I only paid for what I bought, and I think it was a couple bucks to have them cut. It's all plasma cut stuff. But we'll get this all fabbed in, all this here, and then we'll take a measurement from the inside to the inside all the way around, and then we'll drop a plate in there. But what I'm going to do is probably cut the plate a little bit larger than what this opening is, where this stuff is down here. That way I have a little bit of extra room for shrinkage. He said shrinkage. It's not cold outside. Anyway, for when I do the makeshift bead roll in it to add some rigidity to the plate. So we'll get going on that. I don't know if I'm going to get to fabbing up the 16 gauge plate tonight. Had a long day today at work, so but we'll get working on that here either tonight or starting tomorrow. So this is what we got. I'm going to work on getting this cut out and fabbed up, and I will show you what happens. Something that helps me out, maybe you know this, or it has occurred to you, or it hasn't occurred to you, but if you didn't know and the thought hadn't occurred to you, one thing I like to do is when I'm doing a multi-piece section like this is I like to take a paint pen and mark which piece goes on which side, because sometimes things end up being different. Like on this back piece, I forgot that I'm going with a thicker cutoff wheel that I had laying around, and so I cut a little more than I wanted to. And realistically, it probably shouldn't matter, but if you're doing a multi-piece, just a good practice thing is to mark which piece goes where. Like if you're doing sheet metal work, you always want to mark which side is going up or facing out. That way you do your forming in the right direction, so you're not doing it backwards, because sometimes you are doing something on the driver's side and you form it out for the ends up being the passenger side, which may or may not work. It's pretty much to go from one side or the other. From my understanding, in a lot of instances it's just an inverted pattern, but it's a good idea and practice to just mark which side is going up and out, and that way you know which way to form it, which way to cut it, etc. So this is just a little tip and trick that I picked up, and also because I got so many things going on, moving parts and pieces, it just helps me out greatly to mark it and let me know which piece goes where, because this is all just mock-up right now, nothing's welded in. That way you for sure know which piece goes where, and you don't have any problems figuring it out or struggling with it, and you can just put it right back to where it went when you're ready to tack her up. Also, if it hasn't occurred to you either, take advantage of your swivel vise, especially the swivel feature. Instead of undoing this and flopping it around, you can just turn it, then you can cut doing this, turn it some more, you can cut doing this, and then you can turn it, make your cuts that way, and so on. A lot easier than undoing this crap and flopping it all around and what have you. But anyway, we got this all cut out, and these are still a little hot. Actually, here's some cold ones. Nice thing about how this piece worked out, drop that one, no big deal. Take a flap disc and clean up those edges. But that, I'll show you here. That will go perfect just like that, as a cap. Like I said, we'll clean that garbage up, put it on there, we'll weld it all the way around, grind it smooth, and then you're not going to drop nothing down in there that you can't get out. That's quite a ways down there. You don't want to be hollering little Jimmy fell in the well, or Timmy, excuse me. So that way it doesn't fill up with crap. You don't drop nothing down there. So, but yeah, take advantage of the vice's swivel. I'm not a pro, but that's a pro tip. Well, let's see if I made this one a little bit better. Well, it's almost like a glove. I got a little piece sticking out right here. I'm going to knock off with the flap disc. And it should fit. If not, then I'm going to come in and grind this down a little bit more. Like I said, I'm using a different cutoff wheel, and it's a little thicker than what I'm normally using. Just because I found it and I needed one at the time. So anyway, we'll trim this little corner off right here. It's just a piece of slag sticking out from where I didn't cut all the way through and bent it off with the vise, or pliers, sorry. And then we'll retest fit this up, and it should be a nice little butt joint, 90-degree corner. Have that all the way around. And like I said, there's probably going to be a little bit of a gap here and up there, but I'm not really worried about that because, like I said, this is all going to be welded in. Do a stitch here, a stitch there, a stitch there, and then we're going to put a piece of 16 gauge plate over it, and we'll get to working on that after we get this all tacked in and burned in. Also, I don't know if you can see it or not, but right down here behind this, I got to grind down the weld. We got a little bit of a bird poo nest there, but we'll get that going here and then get it all tacked in. Alright, I don't know if you can see it or not, but right here, it doesn't look all that great, but there's a couple of passes right here too. So the gap, which would be about what this is down here, is welded in. This is just an overlapping pass between the two, and this is about where the breaker crapped out on me again and I had to start over. Yeah, this thing is definitely overbuilt for its purpose, and I'm not real worried about this coming apart because it's welded solid here and on the outside here. And this is schedule 40. This is 1.5" 188 wall. It's some heavy duty stuff that I'm using. And this is 1/8 inch, 1.5" by 1.5", 1/8 inch. So, to give you an idea, this little cart is, I believe, 16 Might even be 18 gauge. I think it's 18 gauge sheet metal that's just stamped. And these are, I think, 10 millimeter screws. But like I said, for what's going on here, you got this welder that, I don't know, maybe weighs 15 pounds. The heaviest thing of this whole setup is this. So this cart is definitely way overbuilt. And I am putting a plasma cutter up here. The welder and the plasma cutter are going to sit side by side. And then we're going to weld in some hooks over here. I'll probably fab those up towards the end. And those will hold all the cords and the leads and air lines and this, that, and the other thing. And it'll all be contained on this cart. That way I don't have a bunch of crap laying around the garage like I already do. So I got a single car garage. It's me and the missus. We both got stuff. We both got hobbies and projects, and one garage to share. So how many of you have that same situation? You got your wife or your girlfriend, you got a single car garage, you both got hobbies and craft projects you want to do, and you got to share the space, and then you end up not having a whole lot of workspace. And I still need to organize this stuff. But I've been working on this, so I haven't been too worried about putting all that stuff away just yet. I need to get better about that. I also need to finish setting up my pegboard and actually get a bigger section of it. But anyway, we're getting this going. All right, after some tweaking, some sanding, some tapping, some beating. By the way, Shelf, the beatings will continue until morale improves. We got some nice tight corners, and I'm going to remeasure this now and see if we're still 31 inches square. So we'll check that out right now. So after breaking out the old measuring stick. By the way, the only thing I don't like about these, I like it, but I don't. If the camera will focus. Is the magnet. I like the magnet because it helps, but I don't like the magnet because of that. It attracts all the shards, and it's like it's got a little beard going, little metal fuzzy beard. Not a big deal. It just you got to clean it off. By the way, if you got a magnet like this, this thing's a little hairy. What you can do if you got an air compressor and a blowgun, best way to clean these off is fire up the air compressor and take your blowgun and blow the shards off. And don't be dumb. Wear safety glasses. Nothing you're doing is worth losing your eyesight. Accidents are going to happen, but you can severely reduce the risk of it by wearing safety glasses. I'm wearing my apron. Mostly because I don't want to catch my shirt on fire again. So far I've caught my jeans on fire and one t-shirt and burned holes in 2 hoodies and 1 other t-shirt. Oops. But hey, it's kind of worth it until you start smelling crispy bacon. and then you realize that you're on fire. Yeah, that happened. Anyway, folks, I am going to get this frame tacked together, and then we're going to go from there. Alright, welcome back, guys. So during the commercial break, hopefully you got a refreshing beverage, ice cold, maybe a snack, sandwich, what have you. While you were doing that during intermission, this is what we got going on. Got the corners welded in. That one I gotta touch up some. I then grind them all flat anyway, so. But, get a better shot of this. Had it all clamped together, got it welded up. We're gonna let that cool down. I don't have this inner frame welded to this outer frame yet. I'm gonna do that at a later point because I'm sure I'm gonna need to pull this frame out of there to figure out how I'm gonna form the sheet metal to fit it proper, or how I want it to fit. And actually, I think I'm gonna go find a big piece of cardboard, cut it down to the right size, or figure out the size I need for the bends and for the dimples in the metal that I need to make to give it some rigidity. And then once I get that figured out, I'll stitch weld this frame in, and we'll see how that works out. But that's going to be it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop me a comment, let me know what you think. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in to Midnight Customs. Appreciate you.